Hey everybody, welcome back to Neville's Wish Fulfilled. I'm here with my permanent guest as always. How are you?
Doing great. Always good to be back with you.
Heck yeah, I'm happy you're here too. Today it's episode 4. We're gonna talk about something that's again, I say this I think every episode, something that's on everybody's mind. This one I'm very curious about and like talking to you about. This one is the 5-step process that you've created.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, let's get started. Tell me more. Let's just dive in. What is this 5 step process and how did you come up with it?
Right. I've been studying this for quite some time
Yep.
and experimenting, not just studying from a theoretical standpoint, because I want this to be practical. And studying Neville for a long time, I realized that his system is not complete.
Hmm.
It's more complete than other systems precisely because he wanted to make it practical. But I realized while experimenting that and observing other people experimenting that there are certain gaps. Now, what Neville would say and would repeat a million times is this: imagine the wish fulfilled and then live in the end and consider it done. And you're God in expression.
Mm-hmm.
And anything is possible to God, and anything is possible to him who believes. And therefore, you imagine what you want, you assume that you are it already, the person you want to be, and then you live in the end, you drop it, and you're done. Now, in practice, if this were that easy, everybody would get their wish fulfilled.
Yeah.
And yet we see from evidence that people struggle. And it's not as easy as it seems. It's not as easy as assuming the wish fulfilled, persisting in the assumption, and getting the materialization of whatever you wanted. So then my question was, why is this happening? And people obsess about mental diets and things of that nature. But I realized that what we call manifesting is really there are three pillars to the manifesting process. And one of them is dealing with mental blocks.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah, for sure.
The other one is purely spiritual, which is a proper identification of who you are and your relation to the universe. So that's two. And three is imagining the wish fulfilled. It's the imagining stage, the assumption stage. Now, everyone obsessive about this one. They're obsessed with techniques of how to do it, when to do it, how often to do it. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it often enough? And it's not about that. Because you see, you're going to do your routine. And then if you have these mental blocks, which is the first pillar, then that will break your mental routine. So you're in trouble. Or you get into this emotional roller coaster where you feel good for a moment and then next day you feel bad and then you feel good again.
Yeah.
And you're wondering why, because Neville said you just assume that it's done. Why am I not done yet? So Neville did not discuss this first step, removing subconscious blocks. He's not really discussing it. He's discussing imagining the wish fulfilled and definitely the spiritual part. But the spiritual part is a pure abstraction to you. Unless you have some sort of spiritual realization, then that's just it's not going to help you. Just me telling you you're God is not going to help you in any way deal with your mental blocks. So I wanted to come up with a system, not something that I invented, but rather uh, through study and experimenting, taking things that already exist, but putting them all together into a system that is more complete, that takes care of all of these major steps.
Well, I have your steps right here in front of me.
Right.
And I was hoping maybe that we could talk about each of them in a little bit more detail and, what you're trying to accomplish and why the steps are needed. Um, so we'll start with the first one. Or here, I'll read them out all,
Go ahead.
actually. Okay. Number 1, decide exactly what you want. Number 2, remove mental blocks. Number 3, realize who you are. Number 4, imagine your wish fulfilled. And number 5, repeating the process.
Right.
All right. Number 1, decide exactly what you really want.
Right. So what do you want? Many people don't even know what they want, and other people think they know what they want, but they don't understand what's behind their desire. So there's a couple things that need to be done in this step. One of them, last time we discussed money, right? So what do you want? I want money. Or actually, you have to dig what's behind the desire for money. There's another desire. Money is actually just a way, yeah, it's a way of fixing another problem, a deeper problem. Why do you want what you want? Is actually the question you have to ask yourself in this step. Because if you only think I want money, then you're actually missing the point, right? It's actually not about money. You're trying either to gain more self-esteem, you're trying to gain more acceptance from the world, you're trying to get more admiration from a particular person or a group, acceptance into a social circle. There are other things that are behind money, and you think subconsciously that money is what's going to fix it, because you see a desire is always a statement of lack. You're stating an absence. I miss something. I don't have something. Therefore, I desire it in my life. But the material thing that we want, whether it's money or an SP or a car or a job, there's always a more fundamental desire behind it. So in this step, this decide what you want is not just a surface kind of self-inquiry. I want money, and then okay, now I'm done. Let's go to the next step. No, we want to see what's behind that.
It's good to make
desire.
a list though of all the things that you do want, but have that question.
Yeah, yeah, and always
You
dig.
say, yeah, you ask yourself with each of those things, like, I want, I desire money. I desire money because why? Because it might make me feel safer.
Right, exactly. Why do I want to be safe? You
Yeah,
continue the
keep
self-inquiry.
going.
That's right. So it's a process of self-inquiry where you always ask the question why, and until you have nothing else left behind it, and then you get to the actual desire that you have, and it may still be that you manifest money. You might change your mind. You might work in a different direction. You have to keep an open mind about it. So that's one thing that we do with step one. The other thing that we do, analyzing, this is really about analyzing your desire, not just identifying the desire, but analyzing the desire, where it comes from, and also what kind of mental blocks you have associated with that desire. So I'm going to imagine I have millions, and the moment I imagine myself with that sort of money, some mental blocks will pop up. If they don't, then I'm very lucky. I'm going to manifest it fast. But often there will be blocks, some of which we discussed last time. How am I going to get it? It can be skepticism. It can be, I'm not worthy of big money. You simply do not see yourself as that person, right? So there will be mental blocks. And in this stage, we're not trying to fix the mental blocks. We're trying to identify the mental blocks. We're cataloging them, because this is more of an analysis kind of step. We're observing things, not in a judgmental way. I'm not going to judge myself if I find certain things that maybe are not gratifying about myself or my way of thinking, or what I'm lacking. But I'm just making a note of that for now. That's honesty and observation are really the main things that you need when you work with step one, deciding what you want. So I think briefly that will summarize the step one.
You kind of faded into the second one.
Yes.
Removing the mental blocks.
Yes. So once you have the list of things, the blocks, you know what the blocks are. Maybe you don't have a full list. More will come up. But you have the list of what's blocking you. And now, what do you do with the mental blocks? You see, all of this stuff that we've discussed so far, Neville doesn't get into it. Not really. He says, decide what you want and be honest with yourself. That's what he says. Don't judge yourself, be honest about what you want, and then imagine the wish fulfilled. So he's skipping this whole issue, and what he does for it, if anything, is mental diet. That's what he said, right? Do your mental diet. But removing mental blocks, I'm never a fan of mental diet when it comes to removing mental blocks.
Because mental diet is just thinking of only what you want, right?
Forcing you.
Pushing
really.
aside
Forcing you.
the negative thoughts.
Yeah, it's
the mental blocks.
That's right. A mental diet is just like a diet of any kind. It's an act of discipline it's an act of, it's never easy. It's never something natural. You're forcing yourself to do something that is not natural to you, either forcing the body or the mind to do things that the body and the mind are not used to.
I feel like that leads to like suppression
and resistance, right?
Yeah.
There will be resistance to it, and there will be further suppression. So you're unlikely to remove your existing subconscious programs by trying to force them out in that way with mental diets. The problem is that mental diet will more likely lead to delusion, will lead to make believe, pretending, acting. It's not about acting, right? It's about manifesting, is about identifying with the person you want to be in a genuine way, not in a fake way. You're not acting, you're not pretending, hoping that you maybe, fake it until you make it kind of thing. So removing mental blocks is really about releasing them. And we brought up the Sedona method as one very good way of releasing these, bringing them up, first of all, to the surface, these subconscious programs, and then releasing them, removing them. And it's a more peaceful way of doing it. Because once you know what the program is, what the block is, these blocks reveal themselves easy, right? There's that voice that tells you cannot have that. It's a loud voice often, right? It tells you, no, you cannot have that. Right? You imagine your wish fulfilled and this thing says no, right? And it explains why. Often it tells you why you're not going to get it, why you don't deserve to get it, or things of that nature. So that's the block. So through self-inquiry, you find these things and you release them. You let them go. And by accepting that you have the choice to keep them or release them.
Yeah. For the Sedona method too, I mean, we've both tried it.
Yeah.
And things do come back.
Sure.
The things that are deeper rooted.
Right.
So I did just want to say, like, if anybody does try the Sedona method as included in this, just keep trying it, honestly, because sometimes it does take time. But you do feel something in that moment.
Right. Yeah, deeper programs will take time because one program is sustained by another program. And really, this is not done until you remove the master programs. You have your boss fight against the big ones that the Sedona people talk about, the fear of dying, the one for approval, the one for control. So once you get rid of those three, you're really going to struggle with the other ones because the other ones are given life by these big three programs.
Normally, you can easily tie it down to one of those.
Well, absolutely. You're always going to go back to survival.
It's so easy.
Whatever you do. But with step 2, we're not trying, well, if that happens, that's amazing. But it's not necessary to get rid of the big programs with step 2. Yeah. People manifest all the time while still having them.
Of course.
What we're trying to do is to remove enough where the manifestation becomes possible.
What I was saying when I said easy was just, it's easy to find the correlation back to survival.
Right. Oh, absolutely. You will always find it. When you do the self-inquiry, I mentioned, you ask, why do I want this? Why do I want? You're going to get, because I want to survive. Mm-hmm. Right? That's where you get inevitably, and that's where your self-inquiry stops. But you want to remove the blocks on the way, right? On the way down to the fear of survival. There are all kinds of blocks that are in your power to either remove completely or deactivate enough where you can stop the voice, right? Make it stop, so it doesn't fight back when you imagine your wish fulfilled. So removing mental blocks in stage 2 involves a lot of this kind of work, but it also involves something that may sound strange. You have to get to the point where you accept that you will be not just okay, but that you can be happy without the thing you're trying to manifest. So you're trying to manifest money, you're trying to manifest something that is big to you, that you put significance to it, you put importance to it. And without realizing, you're actually conditioning your happiness to it. And many people who manifest love actually are in that mental state. They think they cannot be happy without that person, or they think they'll never have happiness in life unless they have money to buy the things that they want, if they have this more materialistic mindset. So they condition their happiness to the fulfillment of their desire. So with the same step too, we're trying to neutralize that feeling of, it's almost like to use vocabulary that people use a lot, you're chasing it, right? You're in a state of desperately trying to get to that, because you're giving it so much power, essentially. When you put importance on something, you're giving it power. You're becoming its slave. You're not free anymore. You're enslaved by the quest to accomplish that thing that in your mind, it's an illusion, but you believe that is going to bring you happiness. We discussed money last time. Does it bring happiness? Well, it goes for everything. Nothing brings lasting happiness in the world in terms of the material. But we sometimes we get so obsessed with something that we give it, we put it, again, to use these cliches, we put it on a pedestal, right? We make it much bigger than it actually is. So with this step, we also want to remove the importance, to reduce it, to ideally get to a point of being neutral. You can still want it, but you see, what we want is for desire to become a choice. We don't want desire to be a need. As long as desire is a need, you're in a space of lack. There's just no way around it. You operate from a space of absence and lack if it's a need. But if your desire becomes a choice, imagine choosing a hat if you have 10 and you're going out, or a pair of socks. You're choosing things that you have in your drawer, and you're making a choice. You're not doing it from a space of lack or from a space of anxiety. You're doing it as a choice to experience something in the moment. And that's how a desire needs to become. And step 2 is ideally going to accomplish that.
All right, well, number 3, realize who you are.
Right. This step is purely spiritual, and honestly, Neville was all about this one. Right. That was his mission, his personal quest.
His bread and butter.
That's right. That was it for him. Identification with God in everything. That's why he said there's only God in the world. That's why he said that everything is possible to you if you know that God works through you, through your imagination. So he was all about spiritual identification with God. So in this step, essentially, we have to come closer to that realization. And as much as possible, sometimes you come from a space of not believing this at all. So, all we can achieve is intellectual acceptance. If we start from deep skepticism, or maybe being traumatized earlier in life through religious indoctrination, it's possible. And you have an aversion to the notion altogether. So intellectual acceptance is good. Actual realization is better. Realizing the truth about who you are and your relation to the universe. And we touched on that briefly last time, the God of the New Thought, and the God of many religious systems in India, in the West. Many mystical systems believe in a God of unity. And the logic of it, the simplicity is absolutely beautiful. If there's only one creator, nothing created that creator, first of all. So it has to be simply in existence, a state of being. And if that state of being can generate what we call physical shapes, the physical shapes can only come from God. There's nothing else to create those from. And everything and anything has the same properties as God. So to see ourselves as being limited, as being separate, as being unloved, unwanted, poor, all of these things we fear and seek, those don't make sense if you subscribe to this philosophy of unity.
Well, that's due to wrong thinking.
Yeah, due to wrong thinking. This is ignorance.
Yeah.
Right? So if you accept that evil is the result of wrong thinking, I say that evil is looking for God in the wrong place, basically. You're looking for it in the wrong place and with the wrong mindset. And that leads you to, this confusion leads you to all kinds of actions that we call evil because they don't come from a space of love. So realizing who you are is a huge part, because it removes a lot of the tension of the ego is very, not just self-absorbed, but narrow-minded. right? It's really just thinking about its own little space and universe. And once you raise above that and you see a much bigger, infinite kind of universe, then you step into a completely different zone. And that really helps you uh, manifest what you want. And the way you see manifesting in general becomes different.
Mm.
And you might think, well, why are we not starting with step 3? Why is this not the first one? Well, because unless you remove the mental blocks, you'll never believe that you can have the properties of God.
Yeah, so true.
If you're struggling with all those limiting emotions, you're so far away from any acceptance of this truth that unity implies that you really don't have a chance to accept it, or to fully, or to not just to accept it, but to have glimpses of its, to realize it in a true way. So step 3 is one that Neville emphasized, but because he did not really have step 1, his talk about God is inspirational and powerful, but very abstract for people to hear it. Unless you've had your own spiritual awakening and you relate exactly to what he's saying, this will sound just like a nice sermon, just like something that sounds great. But you don't feel it, you don't know it, you don't accept it to the state of knowing, and therefore it does nothing to you in a practical way.
Yeah. All right. Well, number 4, imagine your wish fulfilled.
Right, and this is really where we get to the pure Neville stuff. This is where you apply the technique. This is where you visualize. This is where you affirm. This is where you do vision board, whatever you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I cannot tell you that one technique works better than another technique. Whatever gets you in that mood is good. So this is when you imagine your wish fulfilled. And if you've done the work properly in steps 1, 2, and 3, then right now, when you imagine it, when you affirm it, you should not hear any voice denying it anymore. Or if you do, in certain moments, it should be easy for you to reject it.
Yeah.
This is really the test, right? When you imagine your wish fulfilled before you start the process, that's how we really start in step 1. Imagine and see what kind of blocks come up. So now you see, after you've done the first 3 steps, on step 4, you see what kind of progress you've made. And if the voice is gone, then you know that you've done it right. And then you just imagine. This is the easiest step, really, because you're simply imagining what you want. And Neville said,
that's
imagining.
The fun part.
That's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
Imagining creates reality, and now you're in this space of unlimited possibility in terms of the images that you have, the symbols that you want to use that illustrate your wish fulfilled. It's up to you. You have mental conversations, you see a mental movie. It really doesn't matter. But what matters is that you want to establish the feeling, right? The feeling of being what you want to be, or being where you want to be, and making it natural to you. Really becoming that person in your mind. You start detaching from your current circumstances and becoming more and more mentally associated with the person that you want to become.
Speaking of detaching, we talked about this, I guess, a couple of days ago, about a good analogy that I guess I just wanted you to bring up. What do you mean by, like, you don't want to be delusional, but you do want to detach? And you said something about imagine, like, yourself, and it's like May, and you're getting out of school.
Right.
Can you kind of talk more about that in the way that we were talking about detachment?
Yes, it's about confident expectation, or anticipating an event as being imminent.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it mean to identify with the wish fulfilled? It means that you know that its fulfillment is imminent. When you're in school and it's May or June, whenever school ended where you are, you knew that the summer break is coming up. You didn't have doubts, and your mood changed because of that. As that moment approached, you kind of checked out from your schoolwork mentally. right? We all remember that. It's one thing to be February and you're all deep into your homework and stuff.
Yeah.
But in May, it's nice outside, the weather is warm, you know that it's around the corner, the summer break, and you kind of become more distracted. You know, you want this to be done.
You're already there.
That's right. You're
Yeah.
already there. So mentally, you're already in summer break mode or mood, and that's what you want to do. It mentally, although you still do homework or you're still doing your schoolwork, right?
Do your work.
It incidentally, you know, it was the busiest time of the year often, right? The last month, because you
Yeah.
have to wrap up all of the stuff. You have bigger exam, bigger tests, and all of that. So you have to push through. You're not ignoring them, but mentally, you are, you know, in that atmosphere of the summer break. Well, what you want to do here as well is to produce the atmosphere of fulfillment, whatever you want, your desire. So you want to have that in your mind and anticipate, just in a feeling of it's imminent, it's around the corner, it's happening, and just stay in that feeling. You're not asking when is it happening, why is it not here
Yeah,
yet.
because you already know.
That's right. These are not questions
Yeah.
because you don't. If you're waiting for the summer break, you're not saying why is it not here. You know on the calendar that it's, you know, two weeks in the distance. You do have impatience. You can be impatient. I mean, I remember being impatient, right? Because of excitement, not because of something, not because of doubt. You know, there's two kinds of impatience. One that comes from doubt, and one that comes from excitement. Well, you want to be excited about your wish being fulfilled. That's why Neville said, "How would it feel like? Would you be excited?" Well, I guess you would be, right? So these are emotions that you want to generate during step 4, imagining the wish fulfilled, and getting in. Neville says it's a mood. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is a mood. It's not an emotion that you have you can in the moment. No, it's a mood that you want to capture the mood, catch the mood. He said, and you want to maintain it and return to it, make it your habitual state or your home, as he put it. So, but yeah, this is like you said. This is the fun part. Stage 4. It's where it should be playful, right? It should be you're really at the end of your schoolwork, right? It's really but you're gonna get a break very soon.
And that leads to number 5, repeat the process.
Right.
Which I'm guessing with repeating the process, you do have to go through these extra steps, or these, not extra steps, but these steps again, just because different blocks will pop up for different things that you're manifesting. Is that true?
Right. I mean, the repeat process at the end, it can involve a number of things. It may be that you're removing residual mental blocks through repetition. It may be that you're strengthening the mood I'm talking about. You're staying in that mood. It also depends a lot on what you're manifesting. Some of your manifesting projects may be brutally denied by the facts. Maybe you're manifesting health, but you're sick. You cannot ignore the fact that you're in chronic pain, maybe. So repetition here is important so that you don't allow yourself to be sucked back into the world of facts.
Okay.
So you want to repeat the process.
See, I thought that this was maybe for each desire that you do, but you're saying that this is for the same desire.
Oh, sure.
Like each desire, you can just repeat the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. No, repetition is good. I mean, it's proven to work for the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Through repetition, we gain these automatic, driving cars, swimming, riding bikes, and all of these things that were on autopilot, pretty much, or moves. Through repetition, we gain that skill. So repetition is good for the mind. Not to do it obsessively, and again, not do it from a space of work needs to be done. I'm not done yet. I need to work more. No, it has to be again playful. You're just strengthening something.
Make it a habit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lifestyle. Really.
A lifestyle.
Exactly. Yes.
Habits become lifestyles. Yep. Well, how is this 5 steps implemented? What is the actual work like?
Well, really, when you work on the 5 steps, you have to. This is not something that you can do for a week and then you pick up later after 5 months.
No.
You know, this is something that the 5 steps is for people who are highly motivated, right? They're willing to do the work and they're willing to do it right. And like I said, to make it a lifestyle, this is not just let's solve a problem and then we forget about the law. You have to make it a lifestyle to actually make a difference in your life. And if I'm working with someone or I'm helping someone with the 5 steps, we pretty much do it every day. This isn't like traditional therapy where you meet once a week for a couple hours or for 1 hour and you talk about it and then you don't meet again for another week or two. Because this is an ongoing process. You don't take breaks, right? With this thing, you're releasing on blocks, or you're identifying blocks, or you're working on your spiritual realization, or you're imagining your wish fulfilled. It's always something. So this work is a continuous work, essentially. So the implementation is not done at fixed moments of time. Let's meet and talk about, how was your last week, right? This is not how this works. It doesn't work best that way. It works as a daily process of staying sort of in touch and on top of things, and kind of making sure that the process goes according to plan.
So, is this 5 steps something that people can do on their own without your guidance?
Oh, absolutely, they can do it. Not the first time, probably, because we've been discussing it, and we can discuss it for another hour, and I can get into more detail, but you're still going to have more questions once you start working on it. And ideally, you'll have guidance from the person who came up with it in the first place. But once you have that, then sure, once you succeed with your first project, you can be on your own because you know how you did it, and you're done. Even then, you might come back with some questions.
Sure.
I mean, anybody who reads Neville's lectures has questions that they would love to ask Neville.
Yeah.
And you read the Q&A, and damn, I wish I was in the room so I could ask proper questions. They're asking all kinds of questions that are really, that don't seem to be kind of trivial.
Yeah, you've said that.
Yeah, so I'd love to ask some actual questions. More pointed, more challenge him on issues, and make force him to clarify certain things. So I think that communication with the person who developed the system is not never going to be interrupted. But yeah, it definitely, people can do it on their own the second time around, and later make it a lifestyle. The 5 steps as a lifestyle, and really the goal here is for people not to need the 5 steps. It's for people to need just step one and the last one. It's intention and manifestation. That's it. You're moving from intention to manifestation. Because once the mental blocks are gone, then all it takes is exactly what Neville said. You imagine it, and you're done, right? But you have to get there.
Yeah. Well, I know that people get pretty triggered when they hear the word coaching, because online coaches have a reputation for scamming or overcharging or overpromising. Last time, we discussed money and how Neville himself charged for his public lectures. Where do you kind of stand on this issue?
Right. I mean, and people probably have reasons or are justified in being skeptical.
I mean, there are some scammers out there.
Absolutely. And it's like the lady with the crystal ball. Some people have the gift of precognition and reading the future, and some are just charlatans or just scammers. I said it before, I see no problem in people asking for compensation for their time. I think that's how society functions. If you go to any service provider, do you expect them to give you their time for free? Not really. So I don't see a fundamental problem in that. We can even take a more cynical capitalist view and say that if someone is willing to pay, then the conversation is over, right? They're not forced to pay for these coaches. If someone wants to do it, then it is what it is. I do think that there has to be accountability, right? If you're helping someone, giving your best effort is obviously the minimum that you should do, but also do something you believe in. Neville did something he believed in, and he believed it's working. And I think that if you're coaching someone, you have to start with these things. Now, of course, nobody can give guarantees. You go to a surgeon, they don't give you guarantees. They make you sign a piece of paper that says, they don't take responsibility for a number of things if they happen. You go to a lawyer, you go to, a financial advisor, nobody gives you guarantees. But they can, if you trust their expertise, right, then you're going to pay for their time and pay for their services. So, no, I don't really see a problem in when they're asking money. I think that people should be careful who they pay, right? Who they choose to be their mentor or their coach. It's the responsibility is also on the side of the buyer, right, of the client.
Yeah,
To make to do their homework and assess, the person they're paying before they send money to on the internet essentially.
Well, you said something about, you know, Neville believed in what he's doing, and
Yeah,
I think that you believe in what you're doing too.
absolutely. And I did it on the sub for 1 year,
Yeah.
and I have, I think, 250 pages single spaced of material that I posted. I could easily write 2 books on that, and that was all for free. I just shared my knowledge.
True.
And it's 1 year of posting, but years of studying, because without the study, I could not have written 1 page on that sub. So I'm not also not against giving things for free.
No.
I have no problem in doing that. I also have no problem in charging for what we call a premium service. That's also fine.
Yeah, definitely. Well, do you think that the premium service, your success formula, is complete, or are you still working on it?
Well, I think it would be very arrogant of me to say that it's complete or that it's the best. Nothing is complete, in my opinion, ever. So it's always going to be a work in progress, as you keep adding things or modifying or improving. But I do think it's worth exploring and see what it can do for you.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you know, I guess what people get at the end is going to decide, right? If people apply it and they take it seriously and they succeed, then that speaks for itself. If it's not going to be complete, but if it's successful, that's all we need at the end of the day.
Definitely. Do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Well, again, I could probably talk about it a lot, but all that we've discussed today, it's on the sub anyway. The formula.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a distillation, right? A summarizing or a structuring, I guess, of what I've been saying for a year. So people can just take that and work on their own, or we can work on the 5 steps. But either way, my goal always has been, to help people be successful. That's
Absolutely.
we were talking about happiness. What's happiness? Well, if people succeed, that makes me happy. Not money, but just the knowledge that there's people out there whose life became better because of the knowledge that I was fortunate to acquire, or um, any kind of knowledge, whether spiritual or intellectual, that has been of some help in the world.
I definitely think it has. And yeah, if you do want to work one on one with him, I think he's mentioned it before on the Reddit, joining the Discord.
Right, we're mostly on Discord, yes.
Yeah, and you can get that link from him on the Reddit. Um, that's how you can work one on one. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
And answering my
Always
questions.
a pleasure.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, this has been episode 4, and we're still working on topics, I guess, for episode 5. I have a few in mind, but that will be 2 weeks from today. And y'all take it easy. Thanks so much for listening.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.